Welcome to another episode of the Saddleback Pod. We have my friend Jose here, owner of Tantay. That is, well, I'll let you say. You'll tell me a little bit more about Tantay, how it started, where it's going, and big things to come here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. And it's a pleasure. We've been running into each other at Soccer Zone a little bit.
A lot of soccer.
Our kids playing soccer. So I really appreciate the opportunity. But yeah, my name is Jose Aste. I'm the owner of Tantay, which is Mid-Michigan's only Peruvian restaurant. Concept, I say, because sometimes is because we've been in an incubator kind of kitchen, accelerator kitchen at the Allen Neighborhood Center since 2019. And we're about like 80% done. We just need this month of March to finish up the remod for our new brick and mortar, which will be Lansing's ever first Peruvian restaurant.
Okay. So moving from the Allen Street neighborhood to, where's the location at?
So the location of the brick and mortar will be in Okemos on Jolly Road, really close to the highway and Okemos Road.
Okay.
So right there in the mix with all those other restaurants.
Okay. You have the little plaza there. It's formerly what, Woody's Oasis, was that right?
Correct.
Okay,
we're right next to Cancun.
Mm-hmm. We're next to a Cancun too. That's crazy. A lot of Cancuns out there. That's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about how you we're now at the end stages, right? We're at the point where you're kind of getting into the actual restaurant part of it, but you have a great journey leading up to that.
Yeah.
Can you kind of dig into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2019 is when I started Tantay, and I started it first. I went into it thinking, well, at the time, I've always had like a dream of doing something like this. My background is in aviation. I was an aircraft technician.
It's a big pivot.
For about 12 years. Pretty big pivot. But yeah, I've always had a dream of, not honestly like not having a restaurant, but more just the idea of people eating my food, or the food that we make, and then kind of like what that does to them, so like, unifying, or different people from different parts of the community coming together, just the togetherness. So that's why I called it Tantay. Tantay means to bring people together, to join. It's a word in Quechua, which is the native language of the Incas. So yeah, Peruvian cuisine. I started going to people's homes as a private in-home chef.
Okay.
So basically I would go, hey, Matt, you have a party coming up. So then I would be like, all right, well, invite about 10 people, 12 people max. And then I'll come to your house, do 5-course Peruvian meal. But then at the same time, I'll be serving like pisco sours if you wanted, alcohol as well.
Oh, wow.
Pisco sour is like just a very popular cocktail in Peru with our pisco, which is our Peruvian brandy. But yeah, so that the idea of the in-home private chef was kind of like, go into your home, you forget about me, you be with your, family and friends, but then me provide an experience, so that's what the 5 courses talk about: the history, the culture of Peru. At the same time, talk about, what I wanted to do with Tantay. So like, talk a little bit about that entrepreneurial journey that I was just about to embark on. And then as well, which was awesome, is I got to ask, my clients, what are you guys looking for in a restaurant? What kind of, and this is before the pandemic, or right before. So, just trying to hit that, multiple birds with one stone. Got some capital from that, started getting more experience. And then I didn't want to get into a food truck situation yet. I didn't want to get into just a restaurant situation yet. Yep. So I found the Allen Neighborhood Center, and then that was like perfect because, that situation, I recommend it to any entrepreneur in the food bev industry. I rented this kitchen out by the hour, put in my own schedule that I could do. And then I just started doing farmers markets there. I started just increasing the volume. I got licensed by the Ingham County Health Department, got my liability insurance. Just started doing everything systematically so that we can, continue to grow and grow. So I was in the incubator for a couple years. 2020 was kind of like, crappy for a lot of us, for everybody. So
walk me through the incubator process at Allen Street neighborhood. Like in Allen Street is, I mean, it is that they have a massive kitchen, refrigeration, freezer space,
Yes,
and it's really made for that person with a dream, I guess,
it is.
or a side hustle maybe. But
Yeah.
that's really, from an incubator. It's
Hmm.
growing. It's
Yeah.
starting from really nothing, and hope, and it's there to help you kind of
Yeah.
evolve.
Yeah, that's what that's what the incubator kitchen is. Yeah. So, I remember touring it, and a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in a while, Lindsay, was working there at the time, kitchen facilities manager. And I remember her giving me the tour, and I was like, oh my God, I need all of this. Like, this 12 ranges, refrigeration,
Yep.
storage, dry storage. So I was like, what do I need to do? And right there is when it started, okay, you need to get your insurance, you need to get all this. So I was like, so already, like, like you said, you're about to start your dream, make it true. But at the same time, you're already starting that business too,
Hmm.
like, okay, I got to get all the things that I need so that I can do this right safely, right,
Yep.
for the public. So studied up that serve safe, got all that, and then just started going there on my own, as soon as the kids were in bed. On Wednesdays, I'd go in there. Sorry, Tuesday nights, I'd go in there late, and start prepping all my food, and then get there Wednesday morning, start cooking for the Allen Farmers Market, and then same thing on Friday nights because I was doing the Meridian Farmers Market. So Friday nights, get in there till like 1, 2 a.m., prepping everything. Wake up the next morning 6 a.m. Go
Is
to go to Meridian.
at this point, is this your only hustle, or are you actually are
This
you
is
working?
my only
Okay.
hustle at this point. Yep,
Okay.
I had stopped aviation and then just started. This is my only hustle. Yeah. So
Okay.
I started just doing caterings, farmers markets. I was in 3 farmers markets, and then a year. Then during the pandemic, okay, continue to talk about the incubator because there's more to say. So that's just what the incubator is, right? What it does on the operational side. But what was really unique about the Allen Neighborhood Center is that it's the Allen Neighborhood Center.
Hmm.
Like, they have a great pulse on the community around them. They do great things for the community. They have that, indoor garden down the street. They have all these different, how do you say it, just projects and just community led projects going on. So, like, and at the same time, at the same incubator that I was in there, there's other people also using it. So it was just like a hub for entrepreneurs. And that was even more inspiring because, as you know, this can be, kind of like a lonely road a little bit,
Totally.
and so, there's some really bad down days and then
Yeah.
there's some great up days.
And most times, somebody else's experience to some degree, or just by you voicing it, allows somebody else to say, "Oh, this is probably going to happen at some
Yeah,
point."
yeah,
Like, so
yeah.
just be prepared.
So just running into other people, seeing other people hustle, like in me, like, I just want to hustle as hard as I can. So when I was down and I'd see other people hustle, I'm like, all right, I pick myself up, let's go. So it's just a really good just place to start a business. I feel like very, very unique. And at the same time, like I said, Allen Neighborhood Center has a great pulse on the community, and, with their veggie box program and their relationships with, the urban gardens around them
Yep.
and urban farmers, like, that also, I was listening because this is I've never owned a restaurant, I own a
Sure.
business. So for me, I was just learning in my mind. I don't want to say the right way, but like the way that I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to, like, as I'm growing this business here in this community center, I want to, continue that, how do you say it, that mentality, like, give back to the community, use the community, be a part of the community,
You want
so
to represent what the Allen neighborhood
right,
represents. That
exactly.
was your,
Hmm.
that's where you started. You grew some of those morals, or I don't know, principles that they have, and
Yes.
you want to extend that
Yeah.
through your brand.
And that was what's unique about the Allen Neighborhood Center. And then during the pandemic, they got a big grant, and then they were fulfilling their dream of putting another commercial kitchen, but one where they would use the makers that were using the incubator to go into, instead of like an hour by the hour, situation, renting the kitchen. They built this kitchen that 4 different businesses can operate out of, and that's the Accelerator Kitchen, which
Okay.
is now called the Rathman Accelerator Kitchen.
Yep.
So yeah, I was one of the first ones to go into that Accelerator Kitchen. It was myself. There were supposed to be 4. I think Slows was supposed to be in there, but then because of the pandemic, a
Yep.
lot of people had to just shift things. So then it was just 3 of us, and it was Smoothie Queen, Mr. Leslie's Cheesecakes, and then Tantay. And that was awesome because all us three were hustling in the incubator, and then we go into the front street and everything.
Yeah.
So like
You're seniors now.
it
Like
was
you
a
got
good
the cool
time.
lockers. Yeah.
It was a good time for all of us, I believe, because we were hustling, and then we're doing these things that were new to us,
Hmm.
and but we were already like kind of at that next level, trying to get to that next level, to the next level. So yeah, I've been in the accelerator for 2 years, um, and um, and yeah, just testing the operation. I mean, the accelerator kitchen, in my mind, it's got, you can outgrow it, definitely as you more successful and but for me it was more like, let's test our operation, like you don't have a fryer in there,
Hmm.
so don't put, I'm not going to put a lot of fryer items on my menu.
Sure.
So it just causes you to think, in a shared limited kitchen, what you can do.
Yep.
And that's what I really loved about that, is that we formulated our concept with limitations. And during a pandemic, I thought that that was really, really crucial, that we were, cognizant about that. Is like, let's not overdo it. Things that we don't need, things that we're not sure of,
Yep.
things that we can't, duplicate,
Hmm.
and keep it simple, maintain it simple. Let's not do it. So the Accelerate Kitchen was phenomenal for that.
What so you're now the Accelerated Kitchen. I obviously see it this huge mobile trailer at all the farmers markets.
Hmm.
How did that come to be?
So the lasting experience that we have is like dining.
Okay.
So everything has been catering, like I said, farmers markets. So I had a good grasp on that, especially because during COVID and the future after COVID is, kind of go where people gather.
Hmm.
I say that quite a bit. So I was like, all right, we're not ready to go into a restaurant. Or I wasn't ready to go into a restaurant, but I needed to also, but I couldn't also say sustain, being in an accelerator kitchen. It's, I don't have a big marketing budget, but what I knew I could do is go where people gather. So I decided to pursue a food truck as well. And then, so that would work for us to get our name more out in the community, do more events in the community, and then at the same time, sustain the business,
Okay.
in an accelerator kitchen.
Yep.
And that's exactly what that did. The food truck was just a great idea. Honestly, I love the food truck. The food truck is just a machine. And it's a big one. It's a big one.
Did you buy that new or used or
Used.
okay?
So I got on Facebook Marketplace.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
It's a great place, man.
Yeah, I was looking, Texas,
Yep.
Illinois, Florida,
Yep.
all the places for food trucks, and I was like, I'm not gonna go to another state and bring a food truck back. So I was just looking at the marketplace, and a good month, of just looking what something looks like, something that's drivable, what that looks like, and then something that's not drivable. So I decided to get a trailer, looked on the marketplace, and fortunate, there was a couple in right on the border of Michigan and Ohio, that they were selling their food truck. I believe the one of one of them had some type of issue going on where they couldn't like be in a food truck or something, so
Okay.
they sold it. So I drove all the way out there, looked at it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this. So
Was there all of our operation comes with like a trailer, but we're not enclosed by any means.
uh-huh.
Is there any like what mechanically has to be? I mean, obviously, I know there has to be hot water, hand washing, but like from a hood standpoint, things like that, is there a code that you have to follow for that, or is it just like, no, this all this stuff works, man. Here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, no, yep, same thing. So Ingham County Health Department, STFU, licensure, mobile unit licensure. There's two options that you can do, but yeah, I mean everything. I mean, yeah, your fire suppression has to be up to date. All your fire bottles, your extinguishers. If you have a fryer in there, then you need a different type of fire extinguisher as well. Um, so you have to be all up to date with that, with like the fire department. And and honestly, there's more events coming up in Lansing and stuff. So I believe that, from my experience, year and a half having the food truck, um, there's how do you say it? There's just more. I'm seeing more food trucks out there, and then right before the events, there's fire marshals coming out inspecting your stuff. So
Yep.
you definitely want to keep your food truck, up to date.
Yeah.
Not only for your business, but for again, it goes back. We're in the hospitality business, right? So we want to definitely make sure we're giving a good product that's not spoiled or using bad equipment for the public. But yeah, no, definitely code. Yeah, a lot. And I think more and more, I think Lansing is, more popular with the food trucks. I think that it'll be probably a little bit more monitored. Like Grand Rapids, like crazy amount of food trucks over
Yep.
there. So I know that, like to get into an event in Grand Rapids, I think it's a little tough too because you got to have like all your stuff has to be like
Right in line.
right in line. Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls about doing events like that, so I don't think it's a lack of people wanting to do it. I think a lot of it's just the learning curve of what does an actual food trailer run? Like, how at what point do you go from like a I don't know $1,500 hot dog stand to or
Yeah.
to like the 10, 20,000. I mean, I'm sure they go up to hundreds thousands of dollars for an
Yeah.
actual truck.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure.
there
For
has
sure.
to be a business model in there that makes sense
Hmm.
because it. I guess I don't know this for a fact, but would you say the Lansing area is food truck friendly or not? So I know, like right now, we're in East Lansing
Yeah.
taping this. It's you don't see a ton of food trucks around here. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's ordinances to say, our businesses are businesses. We're
Yeah.
going to push these out. But then you do see them in kind of awkward spots where you just wouldn't expect it. But there isn't really that hub of like where there's that food truck park or something like that.
Right.
I know it's been tried or people talk about it a lot. But what do you think leads to some of that? Or I guess going back to that food truck friendly,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this
So I think friendly in terms of again, yeah, there's a lot of people that want it. I remember East Lansing because you brought it up about maybe 3 years ago. It was they sent out they had available this big survey, and it was available to the East Lansing community, and it was just about there was a bunch of questions about food trucks. Like is there something you want? Is this something that is interested? Questions like would you want a food truck like in your neighborhood? Stuff like this. So there is like a huge interest in it for sure. East Lansing, I think maybe a couple years ago also, they changed or updated the ordinance so that it could be so that more food trucks can come and or want to pursue East Lansing as an area so they can do business. There's like a year licensure that's not very expensive. I forgot what the price is, but I remember, I was like, oh, that's not bad at all.
Yep.
Where you can just basically be registered as a food truck in East Lansing, and then with their map, of where you can park, you can just basically
okay?
start doing
That
that.
seems a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've never really just parked our food truck, and I've done it a couple times actually, and then just parked it and then had people come, but I learned that it would just take away from customers at the accelerator, and that's where most of my overhead was. Because at
Okay.
that point, when I got the food truck, I had to make sure someone would be taking care of the
Yeah.
the accelerator, the dine-in situation,
Yep.
right? So I had to delegate that, and then just keep the hustle, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm on the food truck now. Let's get more business. Let's get more out there. But the food truck really served its purpose in terms of again, like just doing these festivals, being out and before the food truck, I was, in a tent. I did the East Lansing Arts Festival in a tent. I remember in two tents,
Yep.
like 5 coolers
We're a tent
filled with
operation.
filled
Yeah.
with salads and like steam tables all over. And then finally I was like, oh my god, we need to get a food truck.
Yeah.
And then but but yeah, I mean the food truck is awesome, and I do think that I think it's something that's growing more and more in Lansing. And again, like, yeah, I think a lot of people that want to do it, maybe see the paperwork and just get a little shy from it or whatever, but just go into it. Like it's not really bad. And there is sometimes maybe there'll be a learning curve, especially I'm going to be honest, this is my first time ever when I was doing it, I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, like SOPs, like, man, over 40 pages and then this and then that. But once you get it going and it's organized to the point where, you can operate and license, and you don't have to worry about that. It kind of, it takes a big load off your shoulders.
Yeah, I think it's important too. Like, and you brought your story right now is resonating to me because it's really you started with, I don't want to say nothing, but really not a ton. You know, you're
Hmm.
doing this in home chef, you're trying to, make some money, get your name out there. You then take the next step, accelerator kitchen, low starting point, can still work on your brand, work on your name, get your food and everything. Now you're at the food truck part. All these are pretty good, I think, entry level ways of getting into hospitality. It's a lot different than going, I'm just going to open a restaurant.
Exactly.
And there's room to fail where it's not jeopardizing anything crazy. There's also a lot of upside,
Hmm.
ways to succeed. It is a huge portion into you're over some of these humps. Like you just mentioned the SOPs and the food licensing. Like you've done it multiple times in multiple different spaces now. This is a walk in the park for you where
Hmm.
new person doesn't have, has grandma's recipe that she thinks, is going to work. And everybody tells me you should open a restaurant, which we all know that
Oh
person.
yeah, yeah.
It's hard to walk
Oh
into a
my God.
3,000 square foot place and think, hey, this is going to work. I mean,
Yeah.
even with my experience, I get intimidated by some of these opportunities that come about. I think it can be sold really well of no, we just need a tenant type of thing, and then before you know it, you signed a lease, you're in there, and shit, nobody's coming in. Like, what am I
Right.
gonna do now?
Yeah. And
So
that was like the biggest concern for me at the beginning. I was like, I don't want to go. Yeah, same thing. Bunch of people. Oh my God, Jose. Yeah, man, great idea. You should get a restaurant. Just
yeah,
get a food truck. Get a food
it's,
truck. And then I'd have people, like send me, listings and stuff. And then I'm like, oh my God, yeah, but you know, it's a. I mean, now that I'm in it, I have been in it. It's a tough industry, and
yeah,
especially after the pandemic. During the pandemic, I was lucky enough I didn't have a restaurant during the pandemic.
hmm,
I don't know. I don't think we probably would have existed still right
yeah.
now if I were just went straight into a restaurant. So I'm really glad of the process. It's a really tough process, but I am glad that and fortunate that I was able to just do it systematically. I mean, it's 4 years, and but again, like I think you just got to be really, really, just try to be very cognizant about decisions and trying to get the good good quality information to make good decisions.
What I mean, what did you learn about yourself during this whole thing? Like,
Hmm.
this is a lot. You're taking multiple steps in kind of your pathway to get to where you're at currently. I mean, you've got, your husband, you're a father, you're a small business owner, I'm sure there's doubt, I'm sure there's confusion, I'm sure if there's regrets to some degree and how hard was that like what was it like?
Man, really, really hard. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've just drove home crying, or like, just I don't know. But it is tough. It's very, very, very tough, and I just learned. I mean, I'm lucky that number one, I got a great. I mean, my wife, my kids are my inspiration. But at the same time, I mean, like again, lucky enough to grow my business at the Allen Neighborhood Center. I mean, I had people championing me during the entire time,
Hmm.
and that was really something that just kept me going. And at the same time, another thing unique about the Allen Neighborhood Center is that you see all these other people's doing it.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Leslie's Cheesecake, Marcus,
Yeah.
great friend of mine. I've seen that guy hustle. And like again, like my downtimes, I'd be like seeing him. I'm like, damn, like I gotta snap at it. I'm going back into it,
Yep.
and I've burnt out in 4 years at least like 3 times probably,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
and it's okay. That's what I've learned is that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you need to. We're not machines, even though I think I'm a machine sometimes, but I'm not.
Well,
And
it's hard to pace, right? Like
yeah,
the outside world's telling you need to run at 110%. I mean, if you scroll through my Facebook or TikTok or something like that, you're going to see all these people going, "No, work harder, work
yeah,
more, and it's I don't know this person. I don't even know if they're a real human being, but
yeah,
it's clicking in my mind like I do need to work 18-hour days. And I'm not saying if you do work 18-hour days that that's not a good thing or whatever, but there is some reality like that's just probably unachievable to go
yeah,
7 days a week that style. And
yeah,
most times when I hear about these people that do all these crazy things, I'm like, might not be totally true. So, but when you take on all that kind of when that's soaking in your head, that's all you can think about is I'm
Yeah.
not doing enough. That's why I'm struggling. That's why I'm not far enough. But you have to take some time to step back and go, this is going pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not moving as fast as maybe I'd like it, but we're
Hmm.
also not taking 10 steps back every day
Right.
either.
And for me, a really good friend of mine, JR, he very special because he was like one of my first mentors when I first started this. And that's what I tell anybody is like, try to, your mentor can be someone that maybe doesn't even have experience in the business, but
Mhm.
someone that knows you, someone that can, you're just an outside perspective. But lucky enough, my friend, had his business and was helping other businesses as well. And he told me at the beginning, like, he was just like, because he knows my family, and he was like, well, as you're growing this business, you need to think, like how you're going to have so many different hats. And as you're growing the business, like, make sure you're at least forming the process, or you're you're going through the process thinking that, like, okay, this is something that I need to get someone else to do now, and I'm going to go on to this,
Mhm.
and then I need someone to get to do that, and then I'm going to on to this. Because he said it straight, like, like, you want it, your goal is, your business goal is this, but your goal is to be with your family,
Yeah.
and be there. At the time when I started my business, my kids were 4 and 6,
Yeah.
so like, now they're 8 and 10, so like, you it's important to think that way so that you're not stuck, in Groundhog Day and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really defining your win.
Yeah.
Like somebody's win out there is I want a yacht.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody's win that's like I'd like to be able to coach my kid's soccer
Right.
team and
Right.
come home and we can share time together. That's enough
Hmm.
for somebody to be extremely happy. It doesn't have to be the same way with
Yeah.
everybody. It's just
Yeah.
what your win is and how you want to look at life. Um, so now we're kind of at the food truck part, and now we're going into brick and mortar. That seems like the logical one. You've got this place there on Okemos Road that we've seen the signs. We got
Hmm.
the vinyls in the windows. I think it's a Forsberg building. Is that
It
right?
is. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so um, you've got this. You've embraced Lansing. Lansing's really embraced you. With whatever it may be as far as support goes. But it does seem like I hear more and more about you, about your brand. I think the Allen neighborhood's helped. I think just locally, they're championing you. Now you're in Okemos. This was my step too. I went into Okemos.
Yeah.
Here we go. Where are you at? What's where? How long till we open? What things have you seen? What are you having hard times with?
Hmm.
What are you trying to overcome? When's the big grand opening there?
So yeah, we're going into a brick and mortar spot, highly visible. So very, very different animal to what we're used to at the accelerator. About 10,000 cars, I think, average pass during the day
Hmm.
in front of the new spot. I mean, we're like about 80% done right now. It's the beginning of March. This is the last month that we need to just get everything done, schedule our licensure so that we can open up in April. But I mean, we're really excited. I mean, the next step of this, I mean, what's nice is that we're going into a new spot where it's gonna, give us those sales, that walk-in traffic that we don't have, or we didn't have. And but then at the same time, we have that food truck now, so basically our operation has changed. Like, the 5-year goal was like, let's get into a brick and mortar,
Yep.
but now we're going with catering. Now we're going in with a food truck. So we've kind like Tantay is kind of like turned into a hybrid food service model, which I'm really, really excited for, especially now, like, kind of like like Saddleback,
Yep.
So like, and I think that's a really good model for right now, post pandemic, especially having the university right next to us.
Hmm.
So that being said, we're just gonna continue firing up in the kitchen, extend the menu just a little bit. What's great is we have another menu, a food truck menu too. So we're gonna start incorporating that. But with the food truck, like, I mean, the food truck is awesome because, I mean, who doesn't want to work on a food truck,
Yep.
and who doesn't want to learn on a food truck? The food truck is like a social experiment. It's amazing when you're out there and you're at that window and you're like, selling your thing. So yeah.
You're positioned really well where I think catering can blow up at any point. Food truck could keep accelerating, keep going up, and the brick and mortar could do the same. So, and if one lags behind, you can just kind of maybe set that aside for a time being, focus on what's really working.
Yes.
Where I think some people will just get into it and say, "This has got to work,"
Yeah.
and they don't have those other options to get their product out there. Which, I mean, having those three options, I think, is very powerful and puts you in a really nice position to grow in the area. Um, Walk me through what the store is going to look like. I mean, where
Mhm.
when I walk through that front door, what's the experience going to be like? I don't know, am I getting a splash of all those bright colors, or
Uh-huh.
where are we?
So we are gonna put some bright colors in there. Yeah, there's gonna be bright colors in there. That is like our brands. We
Hmm.
want to be, how do you say it? Fun.
Yeah,
Fun, lively. At least when I'm on that food truck or out there, I'm trying to be that. So yeah, when you walk in, yeah, you're gonna see all that kind of stuff. You'll also see like what we're about. We're really trying to locally source as much as we can when we get in there. Our menu um, is small on purpose so that we can use the same ingredients in different ways throughout the menu, lower that food cost. Because like our biggest, honestly, like our like what I've wanted Tantay always to be is apart from bringing Peruvian cuisine to Lansing, but I want it to also be kind of like a vehicle so that people know what we're about in terms of like we're really into locally sourcing. We're paying higher than average wages when we get in there. My staff are going to have healthcare, vision, dental. I wouldn't be able to do all this if I didn't start at an incubator.
hmm
So finally, when we're going to a place where we're going to have those, hopefully those sales, we're in a more of a visible spot. Um, my team is taken care of, and at the same time, we're competitive. Because wages are going up. We're especially this younger generation. I want to make sure that not we're like bulletproof or anything, but we're proofed. We're
yeah,
post pandemic proofed, so that we can keep going. Because that's really what I want is to create a really good business model that if we wanted to put another one somewhere else, here in Lansing, then we'll be able to do that and then make sure everyone is taken care of.
hmm
This is a people's business.
From a staffing standpoint, how many are you looking to bring in, or what's that look like? There are going to be a lot of tentacles out there as far as the food truck, the
Yeah.
catering. Like, how are you going to staff all that?
So right now we're at the accelerator. We've been training new team members that are part of the team. And then when we get to the brick and mortar, we'll just be five of us team members.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, for now,
Yep.
and then we'll see what the nature of the beast is. We do have the food truck also.
Sure.
So my anticipation is, yeah, open up and then it probably be a month or two until we'll probably have another posting out there and just we want one or two more people
Yep.
because we're getting into food truck season and with more experience now, we have already like there's already like 10 events that we're doing, big events that we're already doing this summer, spring, summer. So, but at the brick and mortar, I mean, it's gonna be our base,
hmm
but there we should not need more than five people.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be fast casual style.
Yep.
Order at the counter, go sit down. We bring out the food, but then at the same time, our servers that are bringing out the food are, gonna same thing. Talk a little bit about what Tantay is,
hmm
what we're shooting for, just to create an experience.
Yep.
And yeah, we're not gonna have liquor. We're not gonna have an alcohol program at all. I don't want it, at least not to start. The biggest thing that has been the most successful for us is just keeping things simple.
Yep.
So I'm gonna keep it that way, and then maybe get into some mocktails or some situations like that.
Sure.
But for right now, kind of fast casual style. Use this place as like a good springboard for us.
Okay. No, all that sounds great. I think when I look back at my operation, there's like six of us that started Rio Town, and now we're up to like, gosh, we can be in the high 60s sometimes. So
Dang,
it
that's
changes
awesome.
really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not saying it's all good problems, It's
Uh-huh.
like it can be tough, but before you know it, the blink of the eye, it could be like, now I got to remember these everybody's name here. Like I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah, yeah.
like four friends, and I've got all these employees. Like what's going on here?
Mhm.
Um, that's really exciting stuff. So one of the things that it's kind of like off topic, but um, we were shooting the last time that we talked was like how impactful. Like I know you grew up playing soccer. We mentioned soccer zone as you and I kind of seeing each other there. Our kids both play kind of against each other in that sequence. But I mean, your success with soccer and having kind of grown up in that world, how have you seen those characteristics, those traits come to like in a workplace as far as like
Yeah.
yourself as employees, like from your successes to your failures? Like I'm somebody who thinks there's a ton of parallels between athletics or any sort, like even choir and
Yeah.
band, where there's a little bit of competition into the business world that it just always seems like, yeah, I dealt with that when I was 12, something
Yeah.
like that. What are things that you see that kind of
A lot.
jump out?
A lot. First of all, I got into this business. My friend JR, I remember before when I told him I want to start my business, he gave me like a homework, right? And he was like, "All right, go to my wife, Melissa, Missy, we call her, and some other person, and just tell them to write what they love or like most about you." And everything was just like, you know, friendly, nice, all these things, personal, social, how do you say it, gifts or whatever,
Yep.
So, and I am that way. I'm genuinely interested in people. I am a people's person. And he did this, and I didn't really think about it that way until he was like, well, that's how you're going to lead, like that's, this is a people's business. These are people cooking,
Hmm.
serving, chopping, handling customers, so if you can't lead people very well, then how the heck are you going to have a restaurant
Yeah.
that's successful?
Yeah. Totally.
So apart from that, soccer, what I love about soccer is that it's not like one person steals the show. It's an
Hmm.
accountability of everybody, right? And it's strategy. And even during a game, you have to change your strategy sometimes, right? If they're attacking on the wings, you know what I'm saying, or like they're going right in the middle, there's a lot of space in the middle for them to flow.
Hmm.
So I love that in soccer, you have to keep your team accountable. We have our positions and stuff like that. So the parallel to that in our team in the kitchen is kind of the same thing as like, we're a small group, but we keep each other accountable,
Hmm.
So if I'm messing up, me, the owner, tell me, what do we need, and then I'll try my best to get it done immediately or, work on it, and then so we all keep each other accountable in terms of we know that this won't keep going the way we want it to be unless we're all, doing what we're supposed to do as well.
Yeah, I think like for me, the thing that I see the most is like you can be a very impactful player on the team, and this goes like in sports, and not necessarily be the star of the game.
Mhm.
Whether you're practicing well, whether you're helping other people out, and you might never be that starting person. And I think it's the same thing in business. Is that I think everybody wants to be that star person that everybody looks up to. But man, there's some people that maybe are a little bit lower on the totem pole, but
Yeah.
are very helpful. And to have those traits of understanding, like I have value, and I can help. Come into work every day. I help my team out. I think is really important. But if you didn't grow up in that world of like saying, "Hey, man, I was the sixth man" or something like that,
Yeah.
it's sometimes hard to learn later in life. You feel slighted.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a big one that I've learned with characteristics of individuals that we've seen come on our team of like, this isn't a big deal. You're still
Right.
part of our team. You're
Yeah.
still a very impactful player. Like it's just you're just not maybe meant for this role.
Right. Right.
And I always think that's a good one. But it's just the knockdown getting back up on your feet.
Yeah.
There's gonna be games you win, there's gonna be games you lose, and learning how to lose is a big one. Like if
It
you don't
is.
know what a loss is or feels like and can't bounce back, then
Yeah.
this is not a game that you should be playing.
And like, sometimes like in soccer, sometimes, yeah, your goal scorer is not having a good game, but then like maybe that midfielder or winger just, you know, lit the goal up and scored 3 goals and
Yep.
someone that usually that's not their job or whatever. And then that's awesome too. And that's something that we really try to do is, keep an open mind about, like, just keep each other accountable. Like sometimes someone might be down, but then this other person is picking up a little bit more, showing up a little bit more, and we try to just champion all those moments. I mean, I've had a knee injury since November. I just started walking like a couple days ago. Um, but I haven't cooked one meal since November.
Wow.
And it's all been my team. It's my teammate Chelsea. She's amazing, but she's been literally just that operational side there and training people. She's been doing that. So like, and if I was there, I would probably be doing that with her. But
Mhm.
she's had to work, definitely been working harder for sure. But keeping us, in this, unfortunate setback, she's just kept it going. So like, every day I'm in there, I'm just trying to be like, hey,
Or
thank you
not
so
getting in
much.
her way.
Right. So like,
But that's good you have that depth, right? Like you
yeah,
didn't I mean, you didn't know you're gonna blow your knee out. Like
no,
you didn't wasn't this wasn't planned. It wasn't like you're having a kid and you're saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be gone for a couple of months." This just came
right.
out of nowhere, but you had built in some of those systems, some of that depth and character, and here you go.
Yeah.
Have you seen Chelsea grow a lot in this?
A lot. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, we've how do you say it? Even before Chelsea, I've had other teammates that have helped me as I grew, and they all were kind of like veterans in the industry. So I learned a lot from them because I've never worked. I worked in a catering company at the Daytona 500 when I was going to school at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Um, but in working in a restaurant, I don't think I was slinging pizzas one time in college. Um, but the prepping and all that kind of stuff and the organization, like I didn't have a lot of experience in that. So I knew when I first started, luckily I had a network of people that, some of them did that for a living and, they'd help me on their, off time or
Hmm.
when they wanted to pick up more hours. So I learned a lot. And Chelsea came in 2 years ago at a culinary school, moved to Lansing, and she just knocked on our door, and I was like, yes. And then she's never cooked anything Peruvian, but now she makes stir fries that are excellent. I mean, she's learned Peruvian cuisine, definitely learned the history behind it, very rich history. Um, and but yeah, she's doing awesome. Shade is another teammate of mine. She cooks really good saltados, stir fries as well. She's excellent on the food truck, really, really good on the food truck. We have another teammate, Mimi, now that's cooking the stir fries. So, that's the whole thing is keeping the system simple so that they can, go in there and do it a little easier than,
Yep, for
so,
sure.
but super proud of my team, like very, very proud. And Chelsea is like, she's like one of the backbones for sure.
Great. It's having a solid team's a big one.
It is. It is.
You got to have somebody to fall back on. You got to have that, kind of rock in the business that if something happens to you, they can kind of step up and take over for it. So we're kind of wrapping up here. Kind of final thoughts. You've got a brick and mortar opening in what I think is one of the better growing districts of the area. Is that kind of Jolly Road, Jolly and Okemos. They've
Hmm.
got Joe's on Jolly now, Lucky's. There's, gosh, I don't know, probably 10 restaurants in
Oh,
that
yeah.
one like
Four
spot.
hotels.
You don't think about it that way
Yeah,
necessarily. It's not really like branded that way, but I mean, I think it challenges like an Eastwood or a downtown as far as like a district that has
definitely.
multiple options.
Yeah.
You could just park and walk around and
Yeah.
kind of get to everywhere. So I think that's a really cool spot. Um, that's coming up here in, gosh, a month or so. We're
Hmm.
hoping.
Yes.
Um, but you're also gonna, food truck season or farmers market season's coming up. Where can they find you online? Where can they find you? If they're just wanting to give you a visit, what can they expect food wise?
Hmm.
Break it down for
Okay.
me.
So yeah, we're gonna be at the brick and mortar. Once we start in April, the food truck's just gonna be festival. So just definitely keep an eye on us. Our website is www.tantay dot sorry www.tantaylansing.com. And soon as we start getting approved of more food truck events, we're gonna post them there. But yeah, all those big events that you see in town, like the East Lansing Art Festival, will be there for sure. Um, we do Dam Jam We do all these other 517 events. That's something awesome about Lansing is there's like You Shine events consulting. They do a lot of events. Um, Our Space 517 does a lot of events. Also, the Hispanic Heritage Festival, the Juneteenth Festival, all these things. Definitely, we're applying for those. So be on the lookout for those big festivals. And then, since we're in Meridian and we've done the Meridian Township Farmers Market, I do plan to continue to propose that we can be there still if they'll have us. But I definitely want to still have the food truck at the Meridian Township
Yeah,
Farmers
it's
Market.
a big market.
That's a great market
It
for
is.
us. And yeah, the food truck is gonna be more. Now that we have a brick and mortar, I'm not gonna just park it somewhere because then it'll compete,
Hmm.
with the brick and mortar. And so what's nice about having the brick and mortar and the food truck is now I'm gonna kind of attack more corporate events, rent the food truck for
Yep.
private events, weddings. I want to get into weddings because our food truck is just highly capable. I mean,
Yeah.
we can serve a lot of people out of that food truck.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great. So everything's on the table right now as far as catering, food truck, um, and brick and mortar opening. I'm excited to see how this goes. It's a lot,
Too.
but it's
It's a lot.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming out, taking an hour with us, man. We wish you the best of luck here as you move forward.
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks so
so
much.
much.